This is Alexa Ford. I sat down with Samantha Pruitt, CEO and founder of Race Slow, race director, ultra athlete, Endurance Town USA podcast host, and Endurance and Outdoor Adventure ambassador. This is the story she told me.
I have this story to tell about a gentleman I just met today, and I actually haven't met him face to face, but I met him over the phone and connected with him on social media. So we've technically met in that, really technology-oriented way. Excuse me. He sent me an email last week that a friend of mine, a fellow runner from Boulder, Colorado, happened to be talking to him about a project he's working on and said, you have to talk to Samantha Pruitt. So through an email thread, we were connected. And I really had no idea why this person was reaching out to me or why my name was even brought up. I didn't know anything about the project. So the interesting response I immediately have was like, I don't have time for whatever this is because I'm busy and I really have no idea where this is going to go. So it's not a high priority for me, right? So I sort of waylaid it into my email inbox from hell and ignored it. But then he found me on Facebook and sent me a message on Facebook. So I thought, okay, obviously this guy is a character or interesting or whatever. So I looked at his Facebook page and I saw he is a runner. So we had something in common. So I thought that was cool. And he's from Ventura, California. Well, I grew up in Santa Barbara and Carpinteria, so I'm very familiar with Ventura and that area. And then I saw some other things on his social media that made me think he's either very religious or I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell based on his posts, but it was still kind of intriguing to me. So nonetheless, I dug up the email and I responded, and then we scheduled a phone call for today. So even today, as I was getting busy and running around and doing things, I thought, I don't really know that I have time for this phone call, and I don't even know what the phone call is about. Why am I having this phone call with this perfect stranger? This kind of is weird, right? But in typical Samantha style, that's kind of how my life goes, is I sort of open myself, not every day, but I try to be relatively open most of the time to meeting new people and new experiences and new ideas. So anyway, he texted me that he was going to be running late, and I actually thought, well, that's an opportunity for me to get out of the phone call because I'm busy, and again, I don't even know what the hell this phone call is going to be. So that's kind of the hilarity of the situation. Moral of the story is he calls me 15 minutes later because, I am available. He called me. We just had the best conversation. Now, that's the weirdest thing, right? Is like I had one foot in and one foot out of even entertaining, meeting somebody new and like engaging in a conversation about whatever is going on with this project or who this individual is. But the cool thing about it was when we got on the phone and actually started discussing why he was contacting me, how he found out about me, immediately he had this really fantastic energy, like this very positive energy. And what he shared with me is he has a huge a passion for running, so we have that in common, and then another huge passion for conservation, like conservation of lands and the environment and stuff like that, which I'm also passionate about. So we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, kind of getting to know each other a little bit. And then the rest of the conversation really was on me trying to understand what is this project and how would I even be involved, or why am I being contacted as a possibility as someone to do this project with. So what his goal is to reach out into communities in the state of California and connect runners, road runners and trail runners, with lands and with conservation. Because when we run and we're in the outdoors, we're outdoors on the land, right? But there's this gap in a lot of our minds around things like that. Like we just take for granted that there's bike lanes and that there's trails and there's places for us to do a sport that we love. But he's pointing out the obvious, which is it is critical for us to understand that those are not, we can't take them for granted. And that if they are there and they're available to us and we use them as a resource, we should help give back and support to the process around maintaining the lands, getting the access to the lands, building the trails, and really understanding conservation as a whole. So it ended up being this fantastic call, and I literally went off on all these tangents because I was trying to understand. I heard his passion and kind of his cause and where he's going with it, but as a business person, I needed to understand the structure also and the goals and how he was going to actually make this thing happen, and ultimately how would it sustain itself and grow legs so it could actually become a thing, right? So there's one thing when somebody just has a crazy idea, because I have those all the time. But to take a crazy idea and actually have it manifest into something that's real, and then engage people so they buy in, and now this thing starts to get momentum and it turns into a real, passion project or whatever you want. That's a whole other level of work, commitment, and all of those things. So we talked about the business model behind it, where it could go, and all these things. At the end of it, what was kind of hilarious is I pitched my idea. So there you go. I had this guy was pitching me his idea and what he needed for support, and getting some input about how we do it in San Luis Obispo and my opinions on that. But at the end, I ended up pitching my idea, and my idea was to maybe take his idea, which is in the state of California, be a bridge and connect running clubs with conservation and having people understand what all of that means so they can give back to their communities and all that. Well, my idea, and has been for a couple years, but I haven't facilitated it yet, and maybe this is an opportunity for me, is to travel the state, visit all the running clubs and running stores, and meet the human beings that operate these running clubs and running stores, and build relationships. Because to me, it's really about the human connection and then the storytelling. Because how cool would it be to run around with a videotape and a tape recorder and meet all these cool people that you've never met before, and you have in common one thing: running. There's something about running that connects the two of you as humans, and then what does that look like? So I could go run with them and see their trails and get to know their community from a running perspective. And this guy could come with me and he could talk about conservation and connect the dots in that way. So my wild idea was that somebody should sponsor us. We should rent a motorhome. We should drive across the state of California. You should come do the podcast and the video piece, and we meet all these cool people. And maybe we do that for a month or something. I have no idea.
This is your ad.
But doesn't that sound fun? Maybe the whole class goes, but you definitely could go and do this techie part that I'm not good at. I just want to go talk to people and do cool things and go to places. And
Yeah.
so someone needs to sponsor us so we can do that. And I think it should be the state of California.
Yeah.
Like Visit California or somebody like that. Because what we're doing is we're also telling the story of California. Because we would move from one end of the state to the other. A lot of it we'd do on foot. We'd self-propel ourselves. And then we'd have this cool motorhome slogging along carrying all our crap. And feeding and watering us.
Yeah.
Maybe your dad will drive a motorhome. Wouldn't it be awesome?
Yeah. This interview just turned into your ad.
There you go.
It's gonna...
I get crazy ideas like that. So that's my story for today.